so much for that introduction, Zeph. My name is Alex Stein. I'm going to be talking today about how to reduce the number of links in your internal navigation to help the pages you really care about rank even better. So over at Wayfair, we call this Project Wack-a-Mole. Why, you might ask? Because having project names is cool, but also because links are always popping up everywhere. There are so many different things happening on websites, from product releases to feature releases to site makeovers, and a lot of times these have the unintended consequence of adding a lot of links to every single page, adding a lot of links to your navigation. So we call it Project Wack-a-Mole because links are always popping up, and it's our job as SEO optimizers to optimize the flow of authority through a site. So I wanted to start off with a quick 10,000-foot view of how site authority works. You get authority from external links, and then that authority passes through to your other pages through your internal links. For any given page, its authority is divided amongst all of the links on that page. 15% of it just disappears. 15% of it just disappears. So one of the core ideas of this talk is that if you have your links, you double your authority. If you remove half the links from any given page, the remaining links that you left there will get twice as much authority from that page. Have your links, double your authority. It's a surefire way to success. Thank you so much. My name is Alex Stein. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Just kidding. Obviously, I want to talk a little bit about what we've done and how we've done it so that you can do it too. So all of my examples are going to cover the different forms of global navigation, which are navigation that appear on every page. Like the header. So we did Project Wack-a-Mole on our header and saw some great results, so I'm going to share a little bit about the process around it. So if you're going to be removing links from your header, I recommend you use at least 3 main data points. You want to be using search volume, header click data, and page level revenue. So these 3 things can act as a system of checks and balances against each other, so you're making better data-driven decisions. So because there can be situations where a term in the header has very low search volume, but might have a very high click count. And what's happening there is that people are hitting your site and they're saying, oh, that's what I want. I couldn't remember what it was called, but I know that's what I want. Alternatively, you can have situations where you have very low click count, but very high page level revenue. So maybe it's a high converting page or just a high ticket item, but the benefit that you get from removing that link isn't going to outweigh the revenue that you lose. So in both these situations, we're leaving the links in the header, where if we were just using one individual data point, we might be inclined to remove them. So we did this on our header. We looked critically at what really needed to be there, and we were able to remove around 150 links. So we actually A/B tested this in order to be extra careful, and the variant with fewer links saw a decrease in internal searches, as well as an increase in overall conversion rate. So what was happening was that since we were removing options that people didn't care about from the header, they were able to find the pages that they wanted faster, so they didn't need to search for them. Additionally, they got put in front of product faster, which improved our funnel metrics overall. So that's just the cherry on top, because when we pushed this out to the live site for the SEO benefit, we saw increased rankings, in particular to the pages that we left in the header, as well as around a 5 to 10% increase in site traffic as a whole, which is a huge benefit for such a simple change. Right? So now all those links that we left in the header, they didn't need to share the authority that they were getting from every single page on the site with an additional 150 links. And similarly, all of the products and article pages that we have, they didn't need to share the authority that they were getting from their parent pages with those 150 links that are usually in the header. So we're just making the site leaner and meaner and giving our most important pages every single possible advantage that we can. All right, my second example covers the footer navigation. So the footer is often a good place to start Project Wack-a-Mole because a lot of times people put links in the footer because they don't know where else to put them. So because of that, there's a lot of unqualified links in the footer. And by unqualified, I mean links that don't need to be accessible from every single page of your site. So I'm going to take a quick minute here, give a shout out to some of our sponsors. Thank you so much for sponsoring the event. MozCon is awesome, but you should know that if you're sponsoring an SEO conference, your site might come under a little bit of SEO scrutiny. So I'm going to poke a little fun at these guys. They're not doing anything wrong. There just might be room for improvement. So Similarweb, right? We have awesome competitive intelligence company, really cool data, 37 links in the footer. And I actually think between the time I made this deck and now, they have 47 links. So it's called Project Wack-a-Mole for a reason. These things kind of just accumulate without you really paying attention. But do we really need individual links for our data and about us and our team? Or can we just have one link that leads to one page called our company? Wordstream, another awesome PPC company based out in Boston with Wayfair, 48 links in the footer. Do people really need to be able to get to the shopping cart abandonment article from every single page of the site? I don't know. And obviously, I'm giving these guys a hard time. There's a lot of good SEO reasons that you might put links in your footer. And we, too, were once like them. Before we did Project Wack-a-Mole, we had around 51 links in our footer. We had links to our general policies, and our shipping policies, and our 30-day policies, and our policies about our policies. And it was a lot of useful information, but just information that didn't necessarily need to be on every single page of the site. So we went in there, looked critically at what needed to be there. We looked at how people were getting to different pages, and we were able to reduce this number down to 20. And a big way that we did that was we found places where we could take many links and turn them into fewer links. So with all of our policy links and the kind of customer service-oriented pages, we created one awesome page with tabbed content and contact forms and HTML jumps and quick links, and we just called it Help. We probably made it easier for customers to find the information that they needed by reducing the number of options that they had, and all the while helping our SEO. All right, my third example is Sidebar Navigation. So this is the left or right-hand menu, the global menu. So not all sites have this, but some of them do. This is a problem that I see come up a lot more on smaller sites that are on CMSs like Wordpress. So a lot of the themes and designs that you can download for WordPress, they often use UX elements that can add a lot of links to every single page. So things like tag clouds, or recent post widgets, or duplicate navigation, or my favorite, archive links. So a lot of times these all appear in combination on a site, and they can easily add over 100 links to every single page. So my advice is always when I'm working with these sites is to Wack-a-Mole, as I like to say. Cut it out. Unless you have business data that's really showing that people are engaging with these features and they're driving business value, they're driving signups or conversions, cut it out. Give your primary taxonomy, give the pages that are really core to your site and like what your site really is as much of an advantage as you can, and don't let these additional links kind of detract from the authority that you can send them. All right, so those are the three main forms of global navigation, but I also wanted to talk quickly about page templates or page types, because it's also very important to try to reduce the number of links that appear on pages that make up a large percentage of your site as a whole. So for us in e-commerce, that's generally product grid pages. So we have many, many of these pages. In general, there are a lot of opportunities on these page types to do Project Wack-a-Mole to find areas for link reduction, but I wanted to tell a little story, a little anecdote about how the number of internal links on these pages can really affect how authority flows through your site and can affect SEO traffic. So we had a code release that went out that was updating how these pages worked. All right, so a couple weeks later, we noticed that SEO traffic had started to trend downwards. Since the downward trend kind of correlated with the code release date, we were pretty sure they were related. So we started looking into SEO elements, et cetera, but all of our titles, our canonicals, our robots, everything was fine. Nothing weird was going on. From a user experience standpoint, the pages were working better than ever, so it took us a minute to figure out what had happened. And it was only after looking at the page source code side by side from the kind of before code and after that we realized that we had turned every single product listing from one link into like 28 links. Holy molefield, Batman. The image had become a link. The name of the product had become a link. The price had become a link. Even the white space next to the price had become its own individual link to the product URL. So now, all of those links that we fought really hard to keep in the header, all those links that we kept in the footer, now they had to share, instead of having to share with the usual 500 links that appear on these pages, they had to share with like 3,000. So we were flowing significantly less authority to a lot of our pages on our site, which was affecting their ability to rank and affecting the traffic that they could generate. And from an engineering and UX perspective, they were like, what's the problem? Like, why is SEO coming over here and telling us that we did something wrong? Obviously, if you click on any of these areas, you should be taken to the product. But we were like, you guys have effectively octo-vigilant-tupled the number of links on these pages. Hashtag octo-vigilant-tupled, hashtag Moscon, hashtag word of the day, you're welcome. OK, so we went in there, we wrapped it all up, reduced it back to one link, still worked fine, everybody was happy, and sure enough, traffic came back. So this is the real traffic trend that we saw. And so, so it's important to think about what you're linking to, not only how you're, it's important to think not only about what you're linking to, but also how you're linking to it. And if there are areas where you can reduce duplication, you should really try to do that. Because I'd much rather this have been a story about how I figured out that we could reduce the number of links and then get a traffic gain. But such is life. OK, so those are my examples. Hopefully you found some of them relevant. I wanted to talk about a couple exceptions to this tactic. Because while this is a smart strategy for a lot of sites, it doesn't necessarily work for everyone. So if you have a low authority site, so maybe you have a site that is brand new, or you have a site that just has very few external links, this is probably not going to work for you. You need to have kind of a baseline of domain authority in order for this tactic to be available. You're better off just building domain authority and getting external links. Small sites. So maybe you have a site with 30 pages that's customer service oriented. Again, I don't want you to reduce your header navigation from linking to 30 pages to linking to 2 in order to rank better for pet sitting in San Francisco. Link to all your pages, it's fine. Do something else. There's a lot of other stuff to do. But if you have a site that can benefit from this, I want to talk a little bit about how to build a business case to get this done. Because if I've sold you on the idea, I also want to tell you how to sell it to whoever you need to sell it to. So in order to get this done, you really need to be able to go to your stakeholders and say, hey, I think that by removing these 100 links, we're going to make X number of additional dollars. And in order to do that, you need to have some kind of average value per global link. The way that we get at that is this equation. You're going to take half of your non-branded SEO revenue and divide it by the average number of links that appear on every single page. The idea here is that about half the money that a page is making, it's making because you freaking link to it, right? You're communicating to search engines, hey, this page exists, it's here, it exists at this point within my overall site hierarchy. Please please rank it, search engines. The other half, the other 50%, is coming from external links pointing at their site. So this will give you a rough number to work with. But if you'll think back to the SEO bug story that I just told, the amount of money that we lost compared to the number of links that we added to every single page, that value per link was very, very, very close to this number that we were already using. So it kind of helped to validate the formula. And it helps, you can take that learning. So if you have a medium to large site with a reasonable amount of authority, this calculation will put you in the right ballpark, and you can run with that number. So that you don't need to go through and count every single link that appears on every single page, we created a link value calculator for you. You can find it over here at drmcawesome.com. You go in here, you drop a URL in. It'll tell you the number of links that appear on the page. It'll tell you it'll list out the URL of every single link, which can often be a surprising exercise because you're like, oh my god, I didn't realize we were linking to that. Additionally, it'll tell you the kind of a theoretical value per link that you're currently getting and how much you could be getting if you only had around 200 links on the page. But make sure to account for lost revenue, right? So the 100 pages that you removed from your navigation, they're not going to rank as well in search anymore, and they're not going to make as much money. So don't make this mistake. Make sure that you account for that lost revenue in your final business case, or else you're just going to end up, it might not be the right business decision for your site. So in closing, remain vigilant. The hammers are in your hands, as they say. All these wonderful mole drawings were done by my good friend Joe Brotman over at joebrotmanart.com. And thank you so much to the audience for listening, and to MozCon for letting a guy like me up on a stage like this.
That was awesome, man.
Thank you.
First of all, let me.
Oh, thank you very much.
No. You just. For anybody who doesn't know, his shirt has lemurs on it.
It's true. It's true, lemurs.
That's
like the
really awesome.
The talk was mole oriented. I was like, just go all the way. Why stop? Why stop there?
So the first thing that a lot of people were asking about, like why you wouldn't just no follow those links instead of like
Yeah, I'd much rather be completely white hat and just have the links that are in our navigation be real links to the pages that are up there. A lot of times there's a user experience benefit. Like I said, it improved conversion rate, it decreased internal searches, it made things just a little bit less. It reduced friction in the customer experience. So I would say, if they don't need to be there, don't have them there. You're just better off that way.
Well, and it kind of it ties in with what Joanna's saying, right? Like if you look at that footer and it's got 45 links, like whoa.
Yeah.
So let's see. Doesn't this inadvertently make the site deeper rather than wider? Is that a principle that you would recommend?
Deeper rather than wider.
So it's harder to get where you're, it takes longer to get to specific pages?
I think, in this situation, we're generally removing things that customers don't care about or don't want. So I'm fine with it being a little bit deeper if we're, getting rid of the cruft. I don't know if everybody read that article, but that was really cool. But just getting rid of things that don't need to be there. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with it being a wallpaper.
Great. And so, and the last one, I think, what is the baseline, like maybe from a domain authority perspective, if you think, for like a small being too small for Wack-a-Mole?
So I would say in the 30s or 40s, if your domain authority is in 30s or 40s, that you can do this tactic and expect to get some results out of it. I've done this with smaller sites, and while it's a smart strategy because it lets you grow faster once you gain external authority, there wasn't a huge benefit to making these changes.
That was really great. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Give it up.